Hello everyone, hope you're doing okay. I've been pretty busy with like school and stuff, but hopefully you're holding up. Normally I'd like to do like a camera or something for this, but I'm in my dorm right now. It's kind of awkward to record anything at all, but we're gonna make it work. In the background, I just decided to throw up my hardcore session from today. I know like a lot of people use like, I don't know, like Minecraft parkour or whatever. I've been really getting into hardcore again recently. I've been having a lot of fun with the game, so you're gonna see me like constructing a McDonald's in the background. But anyways, that's not why you're here. Right now it is Thursday, the 26th of October. My ticket is for tomorrow to the FNAF movie. Isn't that crazy? It is kind of surreal that it's even coming out at this point. I feel like we've heard rumors and news about it being canceled and just being left in the dark for so long. But the fact that it's finally like a real thing is kind of crazy. I'm not sure if you realize how old FNAF as a franchise is. I mean, when you really go back and think about it, let me check. The first game released in August of 2014. This franchise is literally 9 years old. That's like half of my lifespan. I am 18 right now. I remember FNAF being a really big thing when I was in like elementary school. I'm in college now. I'm studying film and shit. And this video game, I remember giving me nightmares in like the 5th grade. I was like one of the people who got into it around like, I don't know, like FNAF 4, FNAF 5. I think it was like right when FNAF 4 released was when I started like watching game theory and stuff. And I kept up with it for a while. I watched the theories up until like, I don't know, probably like a year or two. The game's lore is just really degraded over the years, and it's almost just unsalvageable at this point. You'd need to like reboot the series if you want to do anything cool with any of the concepts they have, which is why a movie is kind of interesting. I'm gonna be like completely real with you. My expectations are kind of on like the floor. I haven't been spoiled for any of it yet, but I've watched like the trailer and I've seen like the review scores online, and they're not doing too hot. So I think people are slamming the critics a little too hard, because a lot of the people who are saying that they just don't understand are also people who haven't seen the movie yet. And a lot of the people who have seen the movie kind of admit that it is true that like, while the critics don't understand, you kind of have to have inside knowledge before you go into the movie, which is not a good thing for something that is supposed to be seen by like everyone. Like a blockbuster should not require homework, you know? The closest thing I could even think of that, it would be like Infinity War and Endgame. Having to try and understand FNAF lore before going into a movie is kind of stupid. And that's what I've heard is like the biggest problem about it, and why critics didn't really like it. And I think that's kind of fair, honestly. I think that's a pretty fair criticism. A movie should be self-contained. You should be able to go into a movie without prior knowledge and come out kind of enthusiastic about the world that it built and the type of world building it was able to do. Just saying that critics don't understand is kind of dumb. I think that's kind of stupid. But I also do see how like maybe some of them just don't get it, you know? Like maybe they don't see the appeal of how like an animatronic could potentially be spooky. I saw this like really bad review comparing it to like the Muppets. It's like, this man is like 60 years old. As I said, my expectations are kind of on the floor from all of that, but I do have like a few things that I'm hoping it does, because just for my sanity's sake, honestly. I've been wanting like a reboot for like so long. That's something you don't hear from very many people about franchises, but FNAF lore is honestly unsalvageable. Like, Security Breach and stuff was just like, it just doesn't make sense. I refuse to believe that Gregory is a robot is a valid theory. MatPat trying to put everything together was just honestly really embarrassing. And I've been kind of saying that it needs some type of reboot for any of the story to make sense in any capacity, which is why I was kind of excited for FNAF Plus, but that ended up getting canceled because the FNAF community sucks. So I'm kind of just hoping that they take like everything that made like the first game good and kind of translate it into a movie, because I like movies. I'm a film major, I appreciate a good movie. I'm hoping it's a good movie. I hope it doesn't play into like the child-esque side of the fandom, because a majority of the people who are going to be seeing this movie are like in their teens or are young adults, right? Like people who grew up with this, because FNAF isn't really bringing in that many new people nowadays. I think it's mostly returning players. I think trying to pander to those people is not something you should be doing. I bet it's going to happen. I think that's probably a reason why it's getting hit so much, is because there's just probably too much fan service that for anyone who doesn't get it, it's just unintelligible noise. I'm just hoping it goes for like a more serious and slower tone. I would be really disappointed if it ended up being like really high energy, because horror movies, like the main way that you build up like actual scares and stuff is by having suspense there. And keeping it too high energy is a really tragic way that this movie could just go down as dumpster fire, because just none of the scares would hit, I hope that they simplify the story, make it really simple to understand, but still leave a little bit of intrigue. I know that was like one of the main reasons why the first game did so well and was really popular, is because it left a lot of stuff ambiguous to theorize about. But I don't think it should be completely like, if you don't know anything about the series, you should still be able to understand the story, right? And that's a kind of fine line to walk between intrigue and like a decent story. I think a good way that they could do that is by having like the main story and the plot that you want to do and you want to cover, and then have like an underlying thing that's kind of intriguing. And that's what a lot of like different movies that have certain themes do, like say like Inception or whatever. Oh, I just realized like, I really hope there isn't a ton of exposition dumps, because they literally put part of an expedition dump in the trailer, which is not a good sign. You really want to show, not tell. That might be a problem, actually. That might be I guess we'll see, but I really hope they don't have like a ton of really cheesy one-liners. I think that would kind of suck. I want them to take it a little more seriously, I want it to have a bit more of a slow burn, because if you don't let it cook, then everything's gonna feel underbaked. Do I have anything else to say? I don't know. I don't think so. I think that's all my thoughts going in. Tomorrow after I watch it, I'll come back and I'll update you on if what I was kind of worried about was true. So, all right. See you then, I guess. Okay. I just got back from the FNAF movie, and I have a lot of thoughts. What? Okay. I don't know. Minecraft launchers being weird. I'm gonna start getting into spoilers here, so if you do not want to be spoilered for the movie, which honestly, like, if you are a FNAF fan or have been a FNAF fan at some point and have like a vague understanding of the lore, and you are okay with watching it crash and burn before your eyes, I honestly think this is a really funny movie. For all of the wrong reasons, and also some of the right ones, to give them credit, this movie is fucking hilarious. It is also, like, excruciatingly painful for someone like me to watch. Going in, like, the first act of the movie, I think, is by far the best part of the movie. You know, it sets up tension correctly, it sets up all your characters that you're gonna want, kind of sets up the stakes. I think it does a great job. I think a lot of the atmosphere is really good. I think a lot of the shot composition is really good. It is unironically a very great first act. Unfortunately, the movie cannot keep the pace for the entire duration, because the second act has a noticeable dip in quality. The end of the first act is kind of signified by this really goofy action scene where, like, all of the characters are, like, teaming up to beat up this group of burglars that are trying to lose the main guy his job. It's kind of strange motivation. I guess it makes sense, but it's really goofy. And I think after that point, it's when I kind of realized, oh, this movie's not gonna really take itself all that seriously, is it? Because there are certain things in this movie that are honestly very intriguing. And I think there's some parts where the more serious tone they take with it is really respectable and works really well. But then there are a bunch of other parts where it kind of spits in the face of all of that effort and makes something that is honestly just like, if you had the base for the first act of the movie and you wanted to see how much could I fuck this up in the funniest way possible, that's kind of where they went, you know? And I'm not saying that's a good thing. Objectively, as, you know, like a film student, as someone who appreciates a good movie, it objectively ruins the movie and makes it objectively bad. And I think the critics are honestly correct in the rating that they gave this movie. I think it's very fair. But as a FNAF fan, and as someone who has been watching this franchise crash and burn over the past like 5 years, it is honestly just like really funny to watch it go this way from a distance. They try to have their cake and eat it too with the antagonists, because they will have the animatronics be like these like evil confirmed killers. In the first like action scene that I talked about a bit, they fucking murder the burglars. But then after that, then they all play like giddy giddy with like the kid character in the movie. You know, I can see why that is. And from that point on, it's kind of like, wow, like you raise the stakes and then you just kind of threw the stakes away. And this place isn't dangerous anymore. It's not like a scary place at all. And then they try to afterwards go back on that decision, and they try to make them all antagonistic again. So they're evil. They're evil again at the end of like the second act, and then they go into the third act, which is like the final part of the movie. And then like I don't understand, like the robots, like they're friends with the girl, but then they try to like kidnap her to take her and make her into a robot like them. And then like fucking Springtrap just shows out of nowhere, and it's shown earlier in the movie that the kids know that the man in the yellow suit is bad and killed them, but for some reason they just like forget that, and they're just like listening to him for some reason because they're evil or whatever. And you know, the motivation for a lot of the animatronics at the very end just completely fall apart, because they're simply just trying to have their cake and eat it too, and it is not working. Like Springtrap's entire inclusion is just completely stupid. He shouldn't even be there. I understand this movie does not give a shit about the lore, but in terms of the lore, he should be like a cask of Amontillado in the back of the building. And for some reason, he's just like walking free. Vanessa, which is a character in this movie, for some reason, she isn't like being like controlled or anything by him, which is kind of like her point in the games. And she's his daughter for some reason. It makes no fucking sense. Honestly, like the third act of the movie is where the entire thing just crumbles. Like up to that point, the shot composition has been pretty good. Like it's mostly been practical effects. So a lot of like, there hasn't been the need for a lot of VFX. And as soon as they pull those out, they look so bad. They honestly, it looks like a B movie. It looks like they just ran out of budget at the very end and they brought on an intern to open up After Effects and make little lightning effects on the characters. It's so stupid. If you've watched the movie, you'll understand what I'm talking about. It looks so bad, which is in contrast to these like really beautiful sets and practical like props. Like the animatronics look like really game accurate and they look really cool. Like there's a lot of little details in every set, even if it's not being used very much. And that's super duper commendable and super cool. And one of the things that I thought was really interesting was that the rumor character, like Sparky the dog from the first game, makes an appearance in the movie as like a spare suit in the back of the building. That's super duper cool. And I don't know if this is confirmed, but I think the spring lock suit that you get locked in sister location is also in the movie. It's in like the back room, which kind of throws a wrench in this whole like timeline, because that shouldn't be happening yet. The timeline for these games is stupid anyway, but this movie just makes no sense. When you actually stop to think about any of the elements, it just does not make sense. And that's kind of a shame. It's kind of a shame. I was hoping that they would make more sense and re-simplify and bring it back to its roots. But the urge to throw in things because they could has overshadowed the kind of reasonability of if they should, you know? If I'm being honest, like the critics were right. Objectively, this is just a bad movie, but it was very fun to watch a franchise that, you know, like I've been following for so much of my life at this point, just kind of erupt into flames. like I'm almost like kind of shocked that this past screenings, because if you don't know anything about like the games, a lot of this shit is just not gonna make sense. That's kind of like, that was my main concern. And even if you know stuff about the games, a lot of it just doesn't make sense. But at the end of the day, they got Matt Pat in there and he did a fun little cameo, and I think that was awesome. Anyways, yeah, so that was my thoughts. There's so much more I could probably say, but I've probably run out of gameplay at this point, so I'm just going to leave it off here. Thank you for watching, and see you next time when I have something else interesting to talk about. Okay, bye.